Canada is facing a crisis that few could have imagined. In 2025, more people are leaving the country than arriving. Families are selling their homes, young professionals are packing their bags, and even immigrants who once dreamed of a better life here are rethinking their future. The picture of Canada as a land of opportunity is starting to crack, revealing problems that are driving millions away. From crushing housing costs and unbearable living expenses to job insecurity and growing safety concerns, the reasons are shocking and deeply personal. What's really happening inside one of the world's most admired countries? Stay tuned as we break down the 10 powerful reasons people are walking away from Canada in 2025. Number 10. Political uncertainty and policies. The final major reason why people are leaving Canada in 2025 is the growing sense of political uncertainty. For many residents, the constant changes in government policies feel disruptive and unpredictable. Shifts in immigration rules, sudden tax reforms, and frequent debates over climate, housing, and healthcare policies create an environment where long-term planning feels nearly impossible. Families who want to invest in homes, start businesses, or secure their children's future struggle with the question, what new law will arrive tomorrow that could undo all of this? The lack of stability leaves many questioning whether Canada can still provide the security and predictability that people expect when building their lives in a country. This uncertainty has a ripple effect on trust. Many Canadians feel that political leaders are not addressing the real challenges faced by ordinary people, such as the housing crisis, job insecurity, and the cost of living. Instead, constant political infighting and shifting priorities leave major issues unresolved. Immigrants who once believed Canada was a safe, fair, and transparent democracy are now expressing disappointment at policies that seem inconsistent and overly bureaucratic. The sense that decisions are being made without considering the everyday struggles of families erodes confidence in the system. This perception makes it difficult for residents to believe their situation will improve in the coming years. As a result, many Canadians and newcomers are turning their eyes to nations with more stable political climates. Countries where policies remain consistent over time feel safer for those looking to invest in businesses, buy property, or raise families. Political uncertainty doesn't always mean danger, but it does create a heavy atmosphere of unpredictability, and unpredictability is something most families want to avoid. For individuals already burdened by high costs, job insecurity, and limited services, political instability becomes the final push. The feeling of never knowing what the next policy change might bring is enough for many to decide that their future lies outside Canada. In 2025, this climate of instability has become one of the most defining reasons people are making the difficult choice to leave. Number 9. Better opportunities abroad. A major reason people are leaving Canada in 2025 is the pursuit of better opportunities abroad. Many Canadians and immigrants alike are realizing that countries such as the United States, Australia, or parts of Europe offer stronger job markets, higher salaries, and faster career growth. While Canada once held the reputation of being a land of opportunity, today the reality feels far less promising. Professionals in technology, healthcare, engineering, and business increasingly find that their skills are more highly valued outside of Canada, both financially and in terms of recognition. For ambitious individuals, the idea of staying in a system where progress feels slow is no longer appealing when the global market is opening doors elsewhere. Another significant factor is the education-to-employment pathway. International students invest tens of thousands of dollars in Canadian universities with the expectation of strong career prospects. Instead, many graduate to discover limited opportunities, underemployment, or barriers related to permanent residency. By contrast, other nations actively recruit graduates and provide smoother transitions from study to work. Families, too, are comparing opportunities for their children abroad, where universities may be more affordable and offer clearer paths to stable careers. For immigrants, this contrast is even sharper. The promise of Canada often fades when they see peers thriving in other countries that provide quicker recognition of foreign qualifications and better access to professional networks. The appeal of better opportunities abroad is not just financial but also tied to quality of life. Nations with stronger job markets often combine them with affordable housing, efficient healthcare, and a climate that supports a more balanced lifestyle. People weigh the benefits and realize that they can achieve more stability and fulfillment outside Canada. The rise of remote work and global mobility has only made these decisions easier, as moving abroad no longer means losing touch with family or opportunity. For many Canadians, leaving is no longer about escaping problems at home, but about chasing the promise of something greater elsewhere. The global competition for talent has intensified, and Canada risks losing thousands of skilled people in 2025 to destinations that simply offer more. Number 8. Safety concerns and crime rates. For many families, the decision to leave Canada in 2025 comes down to growing safety concerns. While Canada has often been ranked as a safe country, recent years have seen noticeable increases in violent crime, property crime, and organized criminal activity in certain urban centers. Cities like Toronto, Vancouver, and Winnipeg have reported spikes in assaults, robberies, and gang-related incidents, leaving residents feeling uneasy in neighborhoods that once felt secure. Parents, in particular, worry about their children's well-being, fearing that simply walking to school or playing outside may expose them to risks that were once rare. The sense of safety that attracted many immigrants is beginning to fade, replaced with anxiety and distrust. Another growing issue is the rise of drug-related crime and the visible presence of addiction crises in public spaces. Open drug use, overdoses on sidewalks, and increases in theft linked to substance abuse are reshaping the atmosphere in downtown areas across the country. For businesses and residents, the situation creates both economic and emotional strain. Families feel uncomfortable bringing their children to parks or community spaces, while newcomers question whether this is the secure environment they had hoped for. Law enforcement agencies are stretched thin, often struggling to respond quickly to incidents, which further erodes public confidence. Even though many communities remain safe, the perception of danger is spreading rapidly, and perception often matters as much as reality when people decide whether to stay or leave. The ripple effect of rising crime impacts daily life in subtle but powerful ways. More people are investing in home security, avoiding public transit at night, or choosing not to attend events in crowded areas. This constant caution changes the way families live and contributes to an overall decline in quality of life. Safety is one of the most basic human needs, and when people feel that need is not being met, they begin to search for alternatives. Countries with lower crime rates and stronger community safety measures look more attractive, even if other challenges exist. For many Canadians, the growing concern about safety and crime is now a defining reason to consider leaving in 2025. Number 7. Harsh climate and weather challenges. Another major reason people are leaving Canada in 2025 is the country's harsh climate. Winters in Canada are notoriously long, cold, and difficult, with temperatures in some regions dropping to dangerous lows for months at a time. For families used to milder weather or immigrants arriving from warmer countries, adapting to snowstorms, icy roads, and weeks of freezing wind feels overwhelming. Even for native Canadians, the constant cycle of shoveling snow, battling icy commutes, and enduring short daylight hours contributes to exhaustion and frustration. This severe climate not only affects physical comfort but also impacts mental health, as seasonal depression and feelings of isolation increase during the darker months. Beyond the cold, climate change has intensified extreme weather conditions across the country. Wildfires in the west, flooding in central provinces, and hurricanes on the east coast have become more frequent and more destructive. Communities are forced to evacuate, homes are destroyed, and the financial costs of rebuilding keep piling up. For many Canadians, the threat of losing everything to a natural disaster adds a layer of fear to everyday life. Insurance rates are climbing, rebuilding takes years, and the emotional toll of uncertainty drives families to consider moving somewhere less unpredictable. While Canada has vast natural beauty, the rising frequency of these disasters makes it harder for people to enjoy or feel secure in their surroundings. The climate challenges also extend to the economy and lifestyle. Heating costs skyrocket during winter months, forcing families to spend thousands just to keep warm. Outdoor activities, which should be a source of joy, often turn into struggles against weather extremes. Parents worry about raising children in such harsh conditions, where even attending school or extracurricular activities can be disrupted by storms. Many begin to dream of countries with milder, more consistent weather, where life doesn't feel like a constant battle against nature. As beautiful as Canada is, its unforgiving climate is driving countless residents to pack their bags and seek out regions where daily life is less about survival and more about living comfortably. In 2025, the harsh climate remains one of the most influential reasons people are choosing to leave. Number 6. Rising taxes and financial burden. One of the most common complaints among Canadians in 2025 is the overwhelming weight of rising taxes. While taxes are designed to fund public services, many citizens feel that the return on their contributions is shrinking every year. Income taxes, property taxes, sales taxes, and hidden fees on everyday purchases all combine to take a significant portion of household income. For middle-class families, it often feels like they are working not to build a future, but simply to keep up with government demands. Homeowners, in particular, are struggling with steep increases in property tax bills, while renters indirectly absorb the same costs through higher monthly payments. The perception that Canadians are paying more but getting less is leaving many frustrated and exhausted. At the same time, people question whether their tax dollars are being used effectively. Crumbling infrastructure, long waits in healthcare, and inadequate support for education or childcare make many feel their contributions are not providing the services they were promised. Families see their hard-earned money disappear in deductions and levies, yet they continue to face potholes on the roads, schools short on resources, and hospitals overwhelmed by demand. For immigrants, the shock can be even greater, as they discover that Canada's free services come at a very high cost, deducted silently from every paycheck. The feeling of being overtaxed while underserved creates a sense of resentment that grows stronger each year. This burden is pushing people to compare Canada with other countries where taxation may be lower and services more efficient. Professionals and business owners, in particular, often feel penalized for their success, with higher earnings leading to disproportionately higher taxes. Some are choosing to move their skills and investments abroad to places where they can keep more of their income while still enjoying reliable services. For ordinary families, the constant cycle of paying more and receiving less has become unbearable. The weight of taxation has shifted from being a civic duty to what feels like an endless financial trap. As a result, rising taxes and the associated financial burden are becoming one of the most powerful reasons Canadians are seeking stability elsewhere in 2025. Number 5. Healthcare system under pressure. Canada's healthcare system has long been a source of pride, but in 2025, it has become one of the biggest frustrations driving people away. The promise of universal healthcare no longer feels like a reality when citizens are facing months-long wait times just to see a specialist or undergo routine procedures. In many regions, even finding a family doctor has become nearly impossible. Emergency rooms are often overcrowded, leaving patients waiting hours for treatment that should have been immediate. This growing strain on the system is leaving families fearful about what will happen when urgent care is needed. For many, the idea of living in a country with free healthcare is overshadowed by the reality of limited access. A key issue is the shortage of medical professionals. Many doctors and nurses are leaving due to burnout, low staffing, and overwhelming demand, creating a vicious cycle where fewer providers must care for more patients. In rural areas, the problem is even worse, with entire communities lacking basic medical services. Immigrants and international students who came to Canada believing they would have reliable healthcare often find themselves shocked at how difficult it is to access timely treatment. Parents of young children, seniors, and individuals with chronic conditions are especially vulnerable, as delays in care can make manageable conditions become life-threatening. The sense of insecurity this creates is pushing many to consider countries where medical systems, though not free, at least provide faster and more reliable service. The impact extends beyond health itself, it affects overall quality of life. A strong healthcare system is supposed to give people peace of mind, but in today's Canada, it often fuels stress and uncertainty. Families are making tough choices, such as flying abroad for quicker surgeries or paying out of pocket at private clinics, just to avoid dangerous delays. This reality contradicts the image Canada projects internationally. People want not just free healthcare, but accessible, dependable care when they need it most. As the pressure grows and the cracks in the system widen, more families are deciding that the promise of universal coverage isn't enough to keep them in Canada, making healthcare one of the strongest push factors in 2025. Number 4. Harsh immigration policies. Another powerful reason why people are leaving Canada in 2025 is the impact of harsh immigration policies. Canada has long been seen as a welcoming country for newcomers, but in recent years, many of those dreams have turned into frustration. New rules introduced in 2025 have made it far more difficult for immigrants to secure permanent residency, extend work permits, or reunite with family members. For many, the system feels like an endless maze of paperwork, delays, and rising application costs. Families who once thought of Canada as their permanent home are now facing the reality that staying may no longer be possible. Instead of finding security, they are left feeling uncertain and unwelcome. These challenges are not just about bureaucracy, they affect real lives in profound ways. Parents separated from their children because of long visa processing times, skilled workers unable to get their qualifications recognized, and international students struggling to transition into permanent residence all share the same sense of disappointment. Even those who manage to stay often feel trapped in temporary status, always fearful that their future could change with the stroke of a pen. This constant instability is emotionally draining, making it difficult to plan for the future, buy a home, or invest in long-term goals. Many families conclude that starting fresh in another country with clearer, more supportive pathways may be the better option. The broader consequence of these restrictive policies is a significant shift in how Canada is viewed on the global stage. Once praised as a top destination for immigrants, Canada is now seen by many as a place of broken promises. Skilled workers who could help the economy thrive are instead leaving for nations that value their contributions and provide smoother paths to settlement. For individuals and families who invested years of their lives in Canada, the frustration is immense. They are not just leaving behind jobs and homes, they are walking away from a dream they once believed in. This harsh immigration climate is undeniably one of the strongest reasons why people are packing up and exiting Canada in 2025. Number 3. Stagnant wages and job insecurity. One of the most pressing reasons people are leaving Canada in 2025 is the struggle with stagnant wages. While the cost of housing, groceries, and basic living has skyrocketed, salaries have not kept up with inflation. For many Canadians, paychecks feel smaller every year because purchasing power has eroded. A job that once provided a comfortable life now barely covers essentials, leaving little room for savings or future planning. Workers in industries like retail, hospitality, and even skilled trades are finding it harder to keep up, and this growing gap between income and expenses is causing widespread frustration. The situation is even more challenging for young graduates entering the workforce, who are often burdened with student debt while facing wages that simply don't reflect the true cost of living in Canada today. Adding to this problem is the rise of job insecurity. Stable, long-term employment is increasingly rare as companies shift to contract work, short-term gigs, or part-time roles. This lack of security makes it nearly impossible for workers to plan their futures, apply for mortgages, or feel confident about staying in one place. Technology and automation are also reshaping industries, putting pressure on certain professions while creating a competitive job market where only a few thrive. Immigrants who hope to find stability often face barriers such as credential recognition and limited opportunities, leaving them stuck in underpaid positions despite having strong qualifications. The result is a labor force that feels undervalued, underpaid, and constantly at risk of losing its footing. This constant cycle of financial strain and uncertainty is pushing many Canadians to search for greener pastures abroad. Countries offering higher wages, stronger job security, and better work-life balance have become attractive alternatives. Families and professionals alike are realizing that Canada, despite its reputation as a land of opportunity, no longer provides the financial stability it once promised. The inability to secure decent wages combined with the fear of losing jobs has created a widespread sense of instability. For many, this is not just about money but about dignity and the chance to live a life free from constant financial stress. It's no surprise that stagnant wages and job insecurity remain a powerful driver of migration in 2025. Number 2. High cost of living. Beyond the challenge of finding an affordable home, Canadians are also struggling with the ever-rising cost of living. Essentials that were once considered manageable, such as groceries, utilities, and transportation, are now eating away at household budgets at an alarming rate. The price of everyday items like fresh produce, dairy, and basic grains has surged, forcing many families to cut back on nutrition or rely on cheaper alternatives. The burden doesn't stop there. Electricity and heating bills, especially during Canada's long winters, add another layer of stress. For those living in urban centers, the cost of transportation, whether it's maintaining a vehicle with soaring gas prices or relying on increasingly expensive public transit, leaves little room for savings. What makes this situation particularly frustrating is that while the cost of living keeps climbing, incomes have not kept pace. Many Canadians find themselves stuck in a cycle where paychecks disappear almost immediately after covering basic expenses. Families that once felt financially secure now face constant anxiety about unexpected bills or emergencies. For younger Canadians just entering the workforce, the dream of saving for the future feels out of reach when even meeting monthly expenses is a struggle. Immigrant families, who often arrive with high hopes, discover quickly that Canada's reputation for opportunity comes with a steep price tag. This disillusionment is leading many to consider relocating to countries where the balance between income and daily living costs is far more favorable. The psychological toll of the rising cost of living is just as significant as the financial one. Families cutting back on essentials experience not only economic strain but also a sense of declining quality of life. Parents are forced to make tough choices, such as skipping family outings or delaying important purchases, in order to stretch every dollar. For many, the constant pressure creates a feeling of being trapped, unable to progress or build a better future. As inflation continues to bite and wages lag behind, the high cost of living has become a defining reason why people are packing their bags and leaving Canada in 2025, searching for a more affordable and sustainable life elsewhere. Number 1. Skyrocketing housing costs. Canada's housing market has reached a level that many experts are calling unsustainable, and for countless families, it's becoming nearly impossible to stay. Over the past decade, the price of a modest home has soared far beyond the reach of the average income earner. In major cities like Toronto, Vancouver, and even rapidly growing smaller centers, the cost of purchasing property has transformed into a dream reserved for only the wealthiest. For renters, the situation is equally grim, with monthly rents climbing at record speeds and often consuming half or more of a household's income. The sense of financial pressure and constant struggle just to secure a roof overhead is pushing families to rethink whether staying in Canada is worth the sacrifice. What makes this issue particularly heavy is the gap between wages and housing costs. While salaries have remained largely stagnant, property values and rents have continued their upward climb. This widening gap means that young people, despite working full-time or even juggling multiple jobs, are locked out of the housing market entirely. Many millennials and members of Gen Z feel that the idea of ever owning a home is nothing but a myth. Even immigrants who arrive with hopes of building a stable life quickly realize that the cost of living is far higher than anticipated, leading some to abandon their Canadian dream altogether. Housing affordability has shifted from being a financial concern to a full-blown social crisis. Adding to this, government efforts to cool the market have had limited results. Policies like increased interest rates and stricter lending rules have only added more strain to ordinary buyers without significantly reducing prices. For families already paying enormous sums for rent, rising mortgage rates create yet another barrier. As a result, more people are considering moving to countries where housing is far more accessible, allowing them to stretch their income and achieve a better quality of life. The reality is clear. Skyrocketing housing costs are not just shaping the economy, they're actively driving people out of Canada in 2025, and the trend shows no sign of slowing down. Canada has always been admired as a country of opportunity, stability, and natural beauty, but in 2025, many of its residents are questioning whether that dream still holds true. The skyrocketing housing market, the soaring cost of living, and the challenges of stagnant wages are making everyday survival harder than ever before. Add to that the frustration of strict immigration policies, the strain on the healthcare system, and the constant weight of rising taxes, and the pressure becomes too much for families to bear. On top of these financial struggles, the harsh climate, growing safety concerns, and the lure of better opportunities abroad are reshaping the decisions of millions. And when combined with a sense of political uncertainty, the choice to leave Canada feels less like a dream abandoned and more like a practical step toward stability. What's happening in Canada is not just a story of economics or politics, it's a story about people's hopes, fears, and their fight for a better life. The trend of people leaving shows that even a country with so much potential can lose its grip if the balance between opportunity and affordability slips away. Which of these reasons do you think is pushing people out of Canada the most? Share your thoughts in the comments, we'd love to hear your perspective. Also, don't forget to check out our previous video for deeper insights into Canada's challenges. We put a lot of effort into creating these videos, so please support us by subscribing. It only takes one click and means the world to us.